Hello and welcome to this case solve of a free case by the DACH local chapter, and actually a free case I've written. If you want to get this case, go to the website Excel Esports excel-esports.de. Scroll down a little bit below and you can then get the newsletter there. If you get the newsletter, you will actually get, I think, 3 free cases, including the case I will talk about in an instance. And there would be no spam and nothing like this, only like a few announcements and actually access to our free cases. And also we have announced a new season for the DACH local chapter. You can also take part as an international. We will translate all our cases not only into English, but also not only into German, but also into English. And yeah, the participation for Germans, and also inhabitants of Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg is free of charge. But if you want to be a non-DACH participant, so an international participant, please go to buy, and you can then buy the participation for the 2026 season, which will include at least 6 cases for €30. But with the promotion code Early Bird, you will get for a few days, it's a time limited offer, $10 off, €10 off, and you then only pay maximum €5 per case, which is pretty cheap. So yeah. Anyways, enough advertising. Let's go to the case. It's actually a case that should teach you all text or a few techniques used in Excel Esports, based on geographical stuff and a map and so on. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So first level, country is given. We want to have the capital, and we have here a table. So here we are using a basic XLOOKUP for the country, returning the capital. And if you write this formula correct, you can track it down. Now, GDP per capita. First, we calculate per continent. First, we calculate the GDP for the whole continent. It's sum of no GDP, not population. Sum if S of GDP if the continent is the continent we are searching for. So this is GDP and this is inhabitants or population. It's a second sum if S, where we sum the population. Continent is given, and then our result is round GDP divided by inhabitants, round to the nearest dollar, so to 0 digits. And we can then track those formulas down and also track this formula down. And level 2 is solved. Now level 3, how many characters are in the name of the country with the given capital? So first we need to get the country name. Capital is given here, but we want to have the country name. And we should exclude spaces. You can exclude spaces by substitute space against nothing. Then we also need to make this only lowercase letters. I will show you why in an instance. And then we use equal len. How many characters? And then we use this was in unnecessary, and then we use len of the substituted stuff here. Sorry, I was thinking about another level. Yes, and that's what it. You can also write this in a single formula, of course, but I wanted to show you this separately. So map distance. We want to calculate the distance between both capitals, and the capitals are here on the map. So for example, let's zoom in here. For Brussels is, for example, in GC40. And you might ask, how do I get my capitals out there? And I show you the technique here. So first, I flat the map with toCol. It's then getting a single column. And then I'm creating a separate map for 180 rows and 360 columns. I do this by using the address function. Sequence 180 rows, sequence 360 columns. And then I'm also making this to a single column. And then I can basically do an XLOOKUP for those both cities. And here, because they're in the map, returning the addresses. And yeah, then it's getting more complicated. Row 1, row 2, column 2, column 1, column 2. And then I'm using for this the row indirect combination to get the row number, and the column indirect combination to get the column number. And then we know 2 rows apart, and here it's 9 rows, and therefore we're using round, not Roman, round of square root of 111 times square root of row difference squared plus column difference squared. And this is actually the Pythagorean distance we're currently calculating. So if you use something missing, yes, 2 decimals. If you actually know a square equals b square plus c square, this is the formula to calculate the diagonal length of a triangle with a 90-degree angle. And this is used for calculate the Pythagorean distance. And I've shown you here how to do this step by step. Of course, you can do this single column or even have a lambda for this reference. Okay, I should actually have fixed those references. But now everything calculating, and we can also track down this formula here. Now, combinatorics. Here we are combining 2 countries, and we want to have the smallest distance to the goal number of inhabitants by combining those countries. And I show you this here. How do I combine 2 country names? By making a table that is including those countries here, a delimiter in between, and 2 rows of those countries here, and then making this a single column. And then I'm making the same for the population, but instead of and the delimiter, I add this together. So toCol of population plus 2 row of population. And we have here then a list of those countries. Now I need to watch out for 2 things. They should not be the same country. And I have to sort them in alphabetical order. So first I will sort them. I'm doing this by text splitting them by row, sorting them. Then for Afghanistan it doesn't make sense, but for the another thing it might make sense. And then text joining them again, and copy this formula below. Now, unique countries, we check for this by searching if text before the semicolon is unequal to text after the semicolon, comma, sorry, false. And then we only include where this is true. And now we can do the following: do an XLOOKUP for 0 in ABS of our goal number minus all possible combination numbers, returning the sorted countries. Match mode should be exact net match or next larger item. So if it's not 0, then it's 1. If it's not 1, then it's 2. And we are going therefore up this combination stuff, and they can then track it down. So last one, we want to model the population. It's actually snipped already. I would need more space, but you can also have this in here. So population 2100. Either you do this mathematically, or else I do this with recursion by using the scan function. The initial value is the population in 2025. Then we want to have this from 2025 to the end of 2100, so for 75 years. Lambda A B. And now the population is the previous year times 1 plus the birth rate per capita. Since it's in per 1000 population, we have to divide by 1000 minus 1 divided by life expectancy. And yes, we then have here this population increasing. And if you want only one result, the end result, you could use the reduce function. And we have it here. Now we track it down. And we see that there is an error here, because for the French and Southern Ireland, there's no value given here. So we divide by 0. And so we make here if error, then 0. It is not changing that much, only for this country, because it's only with no values there. And then we use an XLOOKUP for the country, returning our recently calculated value. And we have to round for the nearest 1000. We round by in front of the comma by typing in minus in front of the digits you want to round before the comma. Now, 2 bonus questions using level 10 rules. Oopsie, level 4 rules. Which 2 capitals are the furthest away from each other? So actually levels 4. Here. So we then calculate this for all countries. I'm doing this by not enough space here. By doing an XLOOKUP for all capitals in our flat map, returning the cell reference, CR capital, and then this 2 row and now it's getting tricky because I need to bring this all into a single column, but we can do this. Get rid of the rounding, and here this is then indirect, row indirect of the first reference minus row indirect of the second reference, column indirect of this reference, and column indirect of the second reference. And now we copy this in here, fix the column, fix the row, fix the column, fix the row. Yes, this should be actually 0. And then we can also track this down. And we can call it. Call and call of this here and this here, so we get the capita coordinates, and we then let's sort this descending. And we actually have here CD72 and MR132 as our references for the capitals. And we are returning this here, Mexico City and Wellington. What is the using which two capitals, concatenate them with comma in alphabetical order. They are in alphabetical order, so simply use text join, comma, and copy the value in here. What is the population of the whole world in 2100? Round to 3 decimals, round to the nearest 1000, so -3. And since we have calculated this here for the whole word, you can simply sum this, round -3, and we are done. So actually kind of a easier case. You might face a little bit harder cases in the DACH chapter, but I hope you will sign up and be part of our chapter. Thank you for your attention. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.